All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the new parent presentation, our new parents of Aquan Swimming at least. Appreciate you guys all being here. I'd like to go ahead and get started here, and some of the things that I want to go over, the goals of this meeting here. I want to introduce the sport of swimming a little bit. I know many of you have a background at some level, whether it's through lessons or through an experience with the summer league team, where you know some about swimming, but specific with Aquan Swimming and kind of understanding the processes that we go through, what our coaches are working towards, and some of the other kind of inside stuff of what makes up our swim team here. Also provide some useful information for continuing your swimmers' enjoyment of the sport. One of the priorities that we have is educating not just our coaches and not just the swimmers, but also parents in understanding everything that we possibly can pass on about swimming. Sometimes we take for granted all that we know, and we forget some of those things. So a meeting like this and future newsletters and things like that we send out that have information are all kind of helping us to pass along some of that stuff. We'll also go over a few of the process of the team, just so that, and again, a lot of you have probably used Team Unify and some of the other systems that we use, but I just want to make sure that there's a clear understanding of what to do there. And then also talk about what the goals are and what you can expect on the first day of practice when you show up to the pools next week. First of all, a little introduction myself. My name is Aaron Dean. I'm the head coach and CEO and also a national training group coach for Aquan Swimming. I am a professional coach. I've been doing this for 26 years now, prior to a 15-year swimming career. I went to school, studied exercise physiology, biomechanics, kinesiology, all to kind of set up my career as a professional swim coach. Just as you all have professions, and whatever that is, I hope that you've earned respect for what you do and what you lead. I hope to earn that from you as well as the rest of my coaching staff that I think will all show you the profession that we have as swim coaches to take your kids and teach them everything that we know and also inspire them to be the best they can possibly be. My job, as I see it, is to provide a program, a competitive swimming program, but also a learn to swim program, and also a program that teaches not just swim stuff, but also ways to be the best that the kids can possibly be, whether that's as a student or as an athlete or as a citizen. We have a lot of things that we instill in the kids to try to teach them small lessons along the way. And we use swimming as our avenue for that. And so we hope that you join in and can kind of see the vision that we have with it. I do have a tremendous coaching staff. If you haven't met them yet or listened to them yet, our coaching staff is second to none. The backgrounds that they have and what they bring to the sport and to our program, from the energy that they give and the sacrifices that they make, they are amazing. What makes a good coach, or what makes our coaches? First of all, safety training. We teach all of our coaches first aid, CPR, coaches safety training. A lot of them are lifeguard certified, and make sure that the kids are safe in the pools. We also have safe sport training, which is athlete protection training, making sure that all the coaches understand and know how to interact with the kids and how to teach the kids and have place boundaries between the relationships that they have so that they're safe and secure. We do full background screening of all of our coaches. They also all are required to have foundational coaching credentials from USA Swimming, from International Coaches Association, and American Swimming Coaches Association. So in addition to their information that they get from us, we also use the resources that we have as a coaching profession to teach them everything that they know. And they also come with a lot of experiences of themselves, whether through their own swimming or through their background in coaching that they've been doing for a number of years. We also do monthly, if not weekly, these first 3 weeks of the season. We have a lot of meetings and making sure the coaches have the outlook of what the season is, and we're kind of on the same page with that. And then obviously our goals and aspirations for each of those groups, they'll be following that step as well. Our goal as a staff and as a whole program is just to help you rest assured that your child's in a safe environment, in a place where they can learn and grow and take everything they can from us to help themselves be successful, but also build a group around themselves with the rest of the group that they're in. Our mission and vision. Again, I'm gonna slide through some of these slides because you can always go back. I'm gonna post these online and also the video presentation, but I've got about 50 slides to go through, and I don't want to spend too much of your evening. I want to get to some of the things that are a little bit more meaningful on a startup basis here. But just understand that we have our vision, we have our mission of what we're trying to accomplish, and the biggest pieces of that are helping the kids to understand how to be the best that they possibly can be. And again, we use swimming to teach that. Priorities, what we're trying to teach the kids, first of all, is always keeping in mind the long-term development of a swimmer. And I'm going to talk a little bit later tonight about development, an early maturing athlete versus a late maturing athlete and what that looks like. And these are things that we keep in mind as we're making decisions on each individual athlete. A holistic approach, and the fact that these aren't just athletes, but they're also students. They're also children of a family, and they're also citizens, and we want to make sure that they all understand, or that we take an approach that we're not just focusing on the one thing, which is the swimming aspect, but that we're helping them learn how to be the best they can in all those different aspects. Coach education, obviously making sure that the coaches are certified, making sure the coaches have all the tools that they need to be able to teach what they bring to the practices. And then parent education, like this meeting here today, trying to help kind of instill some of the things that we're trying to teach the kids so that they can be a all angle support for helping the kids become the best they can be. There are some good resources online. Obviously, our website has some information specific to our team, but there's also policies and procedures there, and there's some links that you can link to get more information about specific things within swimming. Potomac Valley Swimming is what they call our local swimming committee, and it's basically the area that surrounds Washington, D.C., all the counties in Virginia and in Maryland and the actual city of D.C. that encompass Potomac Valley Swimming. We're actually in the territory of Virginia Swimming, but we are part of Potomac Valley Swimming because of some grandfathered policies that were in place before we were all here. USA Swimming has a lot of great resources. Their website continually evolves, and there's some things that are more difficult than others to find, but at the same time, they have some nice basic stuff to get going. Again, coming in from a summer league perspective or swimming lessons, you know quite a bit, but at the same time, your kids are going to come back to you with some terms that maybe they don't understand, and going back online to find them through these websites can be helpful. True Sport is a great resource for not just for parents and athletes, but also for coaches. It gives us some talking points to talking about nutrition, talking about making right choices, becoming a leader within your sport for the athletes. You know, a lot of the things that that you'll be experiencing have been experienced or have been dealt with in the past by other parents and other coaches and whatnot. And it's a great place to go to get some of those answers. Sports psychology is a big thing, you know, is making sure that you find a way to help the kids with anxiety and help the kids with being calm, but also in the moment and focus on doing things right, setting goals, stuff like that. So good resource there. And then obviously experienced parents. Many of you may already know some of them, and if you don't now, the best way to get involved and learn from them is to, we'll talk about it in a bit, but volunteer and be a part of the program, and you'll see them on the pool deck. You'll meet some great people, some amazing people. We have some of the most selfless people in general, but certainly parents in the sport that give a lot to our program and to other parents. So they're always happy to help. Obviously, our administrative team that I'll highlight here in a second, and then your coach is going to be a great resource. If you have questions about things, I'll give you the ways to contact with them and connect with them. What's USA Swimming all about? In a basic sense, teaching kids how to swim faster, but we're also trying to inspire the kids to reach beyond their own expectations and goals, use competitive swimming to teach life lessons, and then using practice as kind of a rehearsal or studying for a big exam, which would be the competitions or the performance there. later on down the road. So we connect a lot of things from what we're doing in practice and start to get the kids to learn how to do that under stressful situations, which would be the competitions and performance. And there's a lot to learn with that. Occoquan Way, the things that we are trying to instill, kind of some of the things that we teach along the way in trying to teach that excellence. First of all, is competence, being confident with what they're doing and being confident with doing the best they can. Pain tolerance, is a big thing. It's just teaching kids how to overcome some of the painfulness of training and of doing different techniques and skills. It's not always comfortable, and sometimes it gets them out of their comfort zone. And that's a good thing. We want them to learn how to tolerate that and work through it and learn from it. Timeliness, being respectful, giving great effort all the time in everything that they do. And it may not be the 100% A grade every single day, but as long as they're giving their best effort every day, we're excited to continue to push them to that next level. Discipline and making the right decisions in life and in general, but also making the decisions. A lot of the unique thing with swimming is it's one of the few sports where probably about at least in the upper levels, about 90% of the time in practice, it's the swimmers with their face in the water, looking at a black line, talking to themselves. And there's a lot that goes on with that conversation. And if the conversation is not disciplined to, for example, go fast through a turn, not breathe on the first stroke, do the underwater dolphin kicks, do the skills right, if you're not making those right decisions, then the training will suffer. The skills aren't going to develop the right way, and it's going to be difficult to have that later on success. So again, we talk a lot about discipline for themselves and making sure they make the right decisions as they're going through things. And that hopefully will carry over with other things. They have kids, we all have conversations with ourselves all the time. And that conversation needs to be a positive one. It needs to also be directed in the right way. And I believe swimming is one of the best ways to help kids learn how to have that conversation the right way and not just listen to themselves, but talk to themselves and tell themselves what they want. Perseverance, obviously, there's going to be some setbacks, and there's going to be ways for them to learn how to overcome those and hopefully persevere to become better. Seeking feedback from and learning from others. We want the kids to take that ownership. And as an example of this, I don't get a ton of phone calls these days from swimmers. Usually it's a text message or an email or whatnot. But in the past, I would tell parents, I don't pick up my phone after a certain time unless it's a swimmer. And I only say that because if it's a swimmer, that means it's something very important that they need to know at that time. And as a coach, we take so much time and pride into the kids that we want them to have everything that they need to be successful. And so anyway, that seeking feedback, being willing to ask the questions, being willing to learn from others and have that open mindset there. Learning to lead. Certainly we want kids to not just learn for themselves, but also learn how to serve and learn how to advocate for themselves and others and their teammates so that the group is positive and also the environment is a great place to be. In the end, we're basically focused on the kids up until they go to college. And so at the end of the day, at the end of their high school swimming career, at the end of their high school years, we want kids to be confident and composed and also be self-reliant, be independent and make great decisions, all that stuff, so they can be a great athlete, a great employee, a great employer, a great spouse, a leader, a citizen, and friend throughout the course of the rest of their lives. So that's what we're working towards, in addition to certainly becoming a fantastic swimmer. Developmental model, I'm not going to go into this in too much detail because we kind of share a lot of this as you're signing up for the program. But as you know, we have 4 different levels within our program: the build, the grow, the excel, and the lead. The build and grow are basically our medley and advanced groups. Our number one goal there, if you read through the notes that I sent out yesterday from the meeting that was on Tuesday, is to instill that love of swimming, instill the love of coming to practice, working hard, learning something in the process, and wanting to come there over and over and over again. Because once they can do that, once they can learn that swimming is fun, not because it's a bunch of games and throwing a ball around, but because it's a challenge. It's something that they want to come and learn and grow from. Once they can get that love like that, going on and excelling in a sport is so much easier, and it's a lot more fun. So before we move them on to those Excel programs, we want to be able to see the kids that are wanting to come to practice, that are coming prepared, that are listening to the coaches, that are working hard and doing the things that they're asked to do. And then by the time they get to the Excel programs, we start to continue that love, but we also start to push them a little bit more to excel and to train a little bit harder and push themselves a little bit more. And then finally becoming a leader in the sport, utilizing all the skills, continually adjusting those skills, and then continually finding the best way to become efficient in the water, but also pushing that training a little bit more and becoming a leader in the sport, leading the group and leader on the team. So again, I'm not going to go into too much detail in here, but the one thing I do want to point out is that these levels are kind of like grades in a school. And sometimes it can seem like a great idea that you've got a real strong swimmer, they're real successful, they're the #1 swimmer in Prince William County, whatever it might be. And so they should be up there with the faster kids and the other bigger practices or higher level practices. Well, the only issue with that is that we've got pieces that we're trying to teach the kids along the way. And the analogy would be, we're not going to put someone in calculus if they haven't learned the basics of algebra, and we're not going to put them into geometry until at least they got the basics of algebra. So there's pieces of it that we want to make sure that the kids have so that they can continue to be successful, because if we push them in there too far, they're going to fail a little bit too much, and they're going to have trouble catching back up and being able to overcome some of that. So we do have a relatively strict, parameters of what we're trying to do within the groups and make sure that they're moving up in a logical form, but also what's best for them physiologically and psychologically with where they are as a swimmer or as an athlete. So our Build or Grow, our Excel, and our Lead programs again. Early success in swimming. So at a young age, success in swimming can be exciting. It's motivating. Everybody starts to think, oh my gosh, this could be the next Michael Phelps. It could be, it's college scholarships galore. Everything is great. Seeing a child win and pass their peers is a lot of fun, but it's not necessarily a justification of future success. Yes, it helps. And yes, it's easier that way. But many times the most developmentally advanced swimmers are successful at a young age while their peers are a bit behind. But I will tell you from experience, past 40 years of being in a sport, I have seen things that are unbelievable, that have gone from the slowest person on the team to becoming a team record holder and being a college scholarship earner as a high school senior. So I'll give you a couple of nuggets here. But first of all, you look at this picture and you can see that there's 3 kids there. Now, and the question is, which one is 12, which one is 16, which one is 14? Well, the answer is they're all 14. And this is a great example of developmentally, they're different, right? And so us as coaches, we take a look at this stuff, and this is a data point. This is information for us. The early or late maturing athletes, generally speaking, they're going to be smaller in stature initially. They have less strength, they have lower motor skills, less athletic success at grade school. And so a lot of times us as parents or us as coaches think, oh, they're just not going to be a great swimmer. Well, that's not necessarily the case. Late maturation can be perceived as that low competence and having a biological disadvantage. But sometimes that tends to lead to that lack of positive attention from parents, from coaches, and from their peers. However, because they're not what you would maybe call talented at this point, they do learn how to work hard. They learn how to persevere. They get better skill focus because success doesn't come easy to them. And it can provide a good foundation, but only if us as coaches and us as parents continue to make it fun and exciting and keep them coming back. Whereas the late maturing or the early maturing athlete, They're going to look a little bigger. They're going to get a little, they're going to be a little stronger. They're going to have a little bit more endurance. They may acquire skills real easy. They look like that grade school star that shows up on the soccer field and goes back and forth and up and down all over the place with around their peers. That early maturation provides that early advantage. However, because it's easy success, there can be a little bit of a neglect of skill development, and not just by the athlete, but by coaches and parents as well, where we say, oh, well, they're a fast athlete, or they're fast at this age, they need to be swimming with their higher level kids, with the 12-year-olds instead of with the 8-year-olds because they're better. Well, that's not necessarily going to help them out, because they maybe have lost some of the smaller skills that they need to be doing, and learned how to work hard and learned how to make that success ongoing. So they get high recognition, but again, they may experience frustration because later on, when everybody hits their growth spurt, all their peers start to catch up, and that can be frustrating. So from a practical standpoint, and how we utilize this, is that we're always preparing the swimmers for future changes. We always want to make sure that we're thinking of the long term and the future of where the swimmer is right now, but also where are they going to be, not just in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but in a few years. The other thing is we want swimmers to peak as juniors or seniors in high school to prepare for college. Now, peaking at that late age, I've seen kids go on to college as well and have even bigger drops and such, because their maturation didn't happen in high school. And then again, helping early maturers keep success perspective, not over analyzing it for, oh my gosh, it's the next Michael Phelps, but continuing to push them and teach them how to work harder, how to continue to stay getting better throughout the course of their career, when that growth spurt doesn't happen anymore and their peers start to catch up a little bit. And then taking active steps to help keep the late maturers excited about swimming. I'll give you two examples of this. And I shared one of them just this last year. I had a young lady that came into the sport back in 2009. She was 7 years old at the time. And I used her times. I found out what her times were when she first came in at her first meet. And it was like 40 seconds in the 25 freestyle, which in today, we're 12, 13 years later, that's a very below average time, we'll say, for an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old coming into the sport. But she was one that came to practice every day. She wanted to be a swimmer. She loved it. She worked hard. She paid attention. She was a great student, and continued to kind of move herself through the levels of our program. She graduated last year, obviously a great student because she knew how to work really hard and all that kind of stuff. But she's also swimming at a Division I school at William and Mary. She's got a couple of our team records. I mean, so going from where she was, which was one of the slower 8-year-olds or 7-year-olds in the program, to becoming one of the top swimmers ever to go through our program, kind of shows the difference of developmental that can happen in there. Another one is a young man, and he went on to the Air Force Academy, and I threw his times up a few years ago, and from just about everybody's analysis of looking at it, I think most people here would look at his times and say, wow, maybe he should try doing swimming lessons before he gets in our program. He probably wouldn't have made our team because where he was when he first came in. But again, same thing. His parents decided, and he decided he wanted to be a swimmer. He was going to come to practice all the time, and he was rough. He had a hard time learning the skills. He didn't develop real quickly. But again, as a senior in high school, one of the fastest butterfly swimmers the team has ever had, and obviously a great work ethic. He went on to I think he's in his junior year at the Air Force Academy right now. So anyway, I want you to keep that success in perspective. Your top 8-year-old is not more likely to get a college scholarship than the slowest 8-year-old in the program. Just keep in mind that every child grows at different rates. One last thing here is, the USA Swimming did a statistic a few years ago, and if you were ranked in the top 10 in the United States as a 10-year-old or younger, your probability was to still be ranked as a top 10 swimmer as a 17, 18-year-old was about 11% chance of that happening, just based on what was happening as they got older. 11, 12-year-old, 21% goes up as you go. The bottom line, and I show this to the National Training Group, is that 50%, over 50% of the top 17 and 18-year-old swimmers in the country don't develop into the top 10 of the country until their junior year of high school, even their senior year of high school. So again, development happens at different stages, different ages, and different things. Don't get discouraged. If your kid is in the middle of the pack or in the bottom or in the top, there's always going to be somebody else coming or some other way to help them catch up to where the other kids are. So leave it at that. All right. Going on to the coach role. Coach role is to offer constructive criticism of the swimmer's performance, challenge them with new skills and striving for new accomplishments. Parents' role is to provide love, recognition, encouragement necessary to help the young athlete feel positive about himself or herself, regardless of swimming success or failure. Be the person that your swimmer can look to for constant positive reinforcement, no matter how the swimmer does. Don't allow your swimmer's worth of themselves be centered around swimming. Let it be centered around the love and compassion and the care that you have for them. The swimming's going to come. And because they have all those basic needs taken care of by you, their swimming is going to go to really high places with the coach's support. So how do you support your swimmer? Ask them if they had fun. Ask them if they gave their best effort. Reassure them that no matter what their success was or failure was, you love them, you enjoyed watching them, and certainly like seeing that they're giving their best effort. Encourage them and trust and follow coaches, even if you don't see eye to eye with the coach. And one thing with that is not to talk negatively about your swimmer's coach in front of the swimmer. Again, we're trying to help the kids learn and grow with the education and the experience that we have as coaches. And one little chink in that armor, if you question a coach in front of a swimmer, can have a devastating impact on the trust and in their own confidence in what they're doing is right. And that can be very difficult to overcome once it starts. Certainly, if you at any time you have questions about what's being done in practices, send a note to the coach, and I'm sure they'd be happy to explain it. And if not, then I'd be happy to step in and help everybody understand what's going on. At practices, you're welcome to sit and watch practices. The first day is going to be a little bit chaotic. I will tell you that, because a lot of times there's brand new people coming in, and it can take a little bit of time to get the kids settled, get them all in the right spot, see where they are. There's going to be a lot of analyzing and evaluating going on by the coaches to set them up in lanes and kind of set them up so that they make sure that they're in the right program or right level. But again, you're welcome to watch. But my suggestion is not to allow your swimmer to necessarily see you, especially if you're one that happens to be up there and you're like putting your hands up and saying, giving hand signals to your kids. Please try not to distract from the coach, other than to say, tell your kid to put their eyes back on the coach and pay attention. And just like you wouldn't necessarily do that at your child's classroom, standing outside the window and giving them hand signals or sending them text messages and things like that during practice or during school time, we ask the same thing, and that way we can maximize the way that we can teach the kids. Many of the pool decks don't allow parents onto the pool deck. Here at Central Park, obviously, the pool deck is part of the stands and everything, so that tends to mix in there a little bit. Like I talked about on Tuesday, is wherever the kids are kind of congregating, try not to sit in that area, because sometimes the coaches will use the bleachers for meetings and making sure that they have time to kind of set up the practice and whatnot. So certainly introduce yourself, introduce the swimmer if you haven't done that at your meetings that you have coming up, and then kind of give your kids some space to be able to connect with the coach, connect with the group, and find a place to feel comfortable there. And then don't try to coach your swimmer. Instead, ask them after the practice what they've learned, and what the coach was trying to teach them, and go from there. All right. Advice for parents of young swimmers. Swimming is going to be one of those things that hopefully they start to learn more. Unless you were a competitive swimmer when you were younger, you start to learn more about the sport than you know. So become a student of your swimmer. Have them come home and teach you and show you what they did, and kind of impress you a little bit. Certainly watch, but don't interfere. Allow your kids to teach you more about sport, get involved. Like I said, if you get involved with the volunteering and kind of being around the other parents that are on the pool deck with timing and things like that with swim meets, you can learn a lot, but also create some great connections for the rest of your lives. Overcoaching, parents or kids naturally are going to want to please their parents. If you step in to coach, sometimes that can have a negative impact on the relationship of a coach and swimmer. And what we're trying to do as a coach is teach them everything that we know. If we're telling a swimmer that we want them, to do a freestyle flip turn, but as a parent, hey, his flip turn is not real good, so in this race, I want you to do an open turn. Now all of a sudden, the kid is conflicted. He doesn't want to upset you as a parent. And so he's going to override what he's trying to learn and what the coach is trying to teach him or her at the particular race. It may not be the fastest thing right then, but it is a skill that they're going to need to have later on. And so generally when a coach starts to see that, oh gosh, the parents are stepping in and they're teaching, the coach doesn't want to get in the middle of that. They don't want to undermine you as a parent. So they start backing off as a coach too. And so then it kind of perpetuates itself because now it looks like your kid's not getting very much attention. Your kid's not getting the skills and learning from the coach because the coach is concerned that you're also giving him way too much feedback and trying to coach him along. And we just don't want to become conflicted with things. So my recommendation is, let the coach do the coaching. You're there to support them, support the swimmers and help them learn the things as they go on. It can become a nonstop cycle of difficulty if you step in too much there. The buzzwords out there are always, a helicopter parent, a curling parent, whatever it might be. Again, we're working to build independent, driven leaders from our teachings. From what we do as coaches to help the kids become that strong, confident person. And you can support this by allowing your swimmer to take responsibility, learn to make the right decisions. And that can even start from the basic stuff. Have your kid pack their own bag, be responsible for putting their swimming suit in, be responsible for putting their goggles in, be responsible for carrying their gear into the pool, setting it down, putting it out there, making sure they have everything before they leave. Have them take some of that ownership. And I know as a parent, I've got 2 kids. I know it's frustrating because you sit there and you're like, I just know they're going to leave it behind, but we've got to let them start to take some of that ownership and then hopefully push them to learning later on that there's repercussions if things don't come home. Again, colleges take notice of this too, and businesses, businesses want go-getters and people that can complete tasks on their own. They don't need to have their hand held throughout the course of learning a skill or being able to take care of the business, whatever that might be there. Another kind of teaching moment, a lot of times as a coach we'll hear, well, my kid needs to have this help out. And, maybe it's something like I have to tell them what to do because they're not paying attention, or I need to take them behind the blocks because they don't follow directions. In these cases, the parental coaching, it has to happen. It has to be something there instead of allowing them to learn, allowing them maybe to fail a little bit and watch the coach and athlete relationship happen. And again, they're going to miss events. They're going to have failures. They're going to do some of these things. Those are all teachable moments. Those are all opportunities for us as coaches to help the kids understand how to be responsible and how to take ownership for their own actions. Again, supporting the lessons, experiences, first of all, showing up on time, arriving on time. Realize we are in a chaotic area and traffic can be, different each day. Sometimes there's a train that goes really slow by. Sometimes things go perfectly and you get here early. But certainly help teach your child that time is important and that the respect of those that are waiting for them is important, and it is a respectful thing there. Commit to a regular schedule. Find that schedule that works for you. Some of you are set up on specific days. Others have flex programs. My suggestion is, commit to what you think you can do throughout the whole year. And if you can do more later, then do more later. But start off so that you can, you're in a nice schedule and your kids have a nice structure that they can follow and know what's coming up. Keep the competitions focused on the betterment of self. Again, even the slowest swimmer today can be a superstar someday. Don't get upset on the poor performances. Learn to fall graciously and allow the strength to come from learning the loss and disappointment, and certainly getting involved. Kids love when their family's involved. In fact, my son has been asking me all year, and actually asked me all last year, and I signed up late to be this watchdog at his school. And unfortunately, I didn't sign up in time this year either, so I'm on the waiting list. But he was super excited when I told him his teacher asked me to come in today to help sort some papers. So, just an example. Kids love when their parents are involved in their interests that they're in. What does success look like? How do we measure that? Giving a maximum effort, learning, continuing to learn and improve. Even the most perfect races have areas that can be improved. And that's the amazing thing about swimming. It is evolving so much, and there are always new ways and new things that kids can learn and athletes can learn to be even faster as things go along. And then certainly refuse to let the mistakes or the fear of making them stop them from continuing on and stop them from pushing on. So talking to the coach. First of all, try not to carry a conversation at the pool unless it's a quick 10-second note about something. So as you're going into the pool, hey, coach, I got to grab my swimmer at 5 minutes before practice is done and be done with it. Generally speaking, the coaches during that first 10 minutes of practice or 10 minutes before practice, they're focused on, all right, here's the practice plan. I need to get the kids in their lanes, and they're trying to mentally make sure that everything is all set up. So as soon as people start darting them with too many questions or too long of conversations, now their attention gets taken off of your kids and being able to make sure that they're ready to go. If you have a conversation, if you need to have a conversation, schedule a time by email or to meet the coach before or after practice or over the phone. We give out all the email addresses. Some coaches give out their phone numbers, and you're welcome to text and call them if they do so. Just realize that they all have families, they all have lives, and some of them even have day jobs that they're at during the day. So be patient with getting a return phone call, return text message, and don't be afraid to ping them if they missed getting to you in a 24, 48 hour time frame. And then again at the end of practice, just like you at the end of a work day, you've got places to be. You've got to go get your kid and take him to swim practice. You got to go to your next meeting, whatever it is. Try not to have that long conversation with a coach after practice, because again, they may have some obligations. They don't want to leave you hanging, and so out of kindness of their heart, they're going to stay there. But out of respect of their time, please allow them to schedule something with you so that they're not their lives aren't turned upside down because they're having to wait after practice or have a long conversation after practice if they're not prepared for it. How to find out how your swimmer is doing. Coaches take an interest in every swimmer and know a lot about them from working with them daily. Now, obviously, the first couple of weeks, they're getting to know them, getting to know their names, getting to know their skills that they have, kind of entry level of things. So probably not going to have a whole lot of specific information in the first couple of weeks. But after that, going into October, they should know a pretty good amount about your child. So you're always welcome to send them an email. Just ask their thoughts, how swim practice is going, what swim meets are they're going for your swimmer, what they should be swimming, and then things that you can do to help support what they're doing at practices as well. You can also expect regular emails from your swimmer's coach about practices, upcoming events. A lot of the coaches also like to send out details about what they're doing in practices for the week or for the next couple of weeks, and kind of some highlights of what they're trying to focus on. But others aren't as savvy with that stuff. So if you ever want that information, don't be afraid to push the buttons and see if they'll get that. Season plans. So there's 11 months of swimming. They're split into kind of 3 mini sessions, about 12 weeks each. This first one goes September to December. And it's kind of making sure that we build the foundation of the season. We're going to make sure the kids all have those basic foundational skills, have some good fitness. A lot of swimmers have taken some time off, so we're trying to build back up their fitness level, get them to a point where they can train at a high level. And then we have some championship meets in December. Then winter comes, December to March. Again, we're advancing those skills, kind of making sure that they continue to get stronger and faster and whatnot. And then summer comes. Summer is, it's a longer part of a season, and we swim longer races. We swim in a longer course. We go from yards to meters, and swimming in a 50-meter pool. So some of the training changes there, but again, kind of progressing and knowing that there's kind of three basic parts of our season that we're focusing on, making sure the kids have an opportunity to swim fast. Basic outline of swim practices. There's going to be a warm-up session, maybe an introductory type session of getting the kids ready. And it could be getting them used to the water. We would call that warm-up. Could also be working on a specific skill. It could be a review from the previous day. Things like that to kind of get them going. Then there's a part of it that's a skill focus. For most of the practices, even our national training group has a point in practice where we want a specific skill done exactly the way we're asking for it to be done. Streamlining off the wall, good breakouts, good underwaters, whatever it might be. There's usually a skill focus where we're trying to build a skill and teach them something. Then there's usually a fitness focus, something that we're trying to get the kids stronger, whether it's through endurance or strength or stamina or anything in between there, to help the kids learn how to maintain their skills, maintain their focus, maintain their training, and go further and longer and faster. And then a challenge or a wrap up. Could be coming back to the skill focus. It could be reviewing another skill. It could be a challenge. Doing 4 laps of butterfly nonstop, or doing a 25 freestyle, only taking 1 breath. Things like that could challenge the kids. Could be some relays, could be some fun stuff too on occasion as well. The season gets tougher because the kids get tougher. Where your kid is today, just like when you go to school, they come in. My son's in 1st grade. He barely knows how to read. I'm hoping by the time he finishes 1st grade, he can read a novel. So it's same sort of thing. Progressively, things get a little bit more challenging. Commitment to that regular schedule means your swimmer is going to keep up with the group. They're going to be able to stay up with the skills, the different things the coaches are going to teach, and learn all the different aspects of that on a really accelerated basis. If you come to 1 practice a week, it's going to be a little challenging to keep up. If you come to 5 practices 1 week, and then 1 practice the next week, and then 3 practices the next week, that can sometimes cause problems. And the biggest thing is that, first of all, the groups go higher and higher with the challenges that they're doing. And so if they've missed a big portion of what the rest of the group is doing, it can add a lot of stress to them. And that stress can be a struggle, and it can even cause some failure, and cause injuries, and cause illnesses. So again, trying to stay on a nice, consistent route is the best thing to do. If your child does become injured or sick, the coach will generally recommend kind of easing back into it a little bit too. If you've missed 2 weeks, being on vacation or whatever, and a group has gone up a couple of steps in their training and some of the skills, coming in full steam and coming the next 5 days, it may be a little bit much. So easing back into it after you've been out for anything over 2 weeks, certainly kind of progress yourself back into it. Each day is different. It can line up with kids that come to 2 or 3 days a week, but there are kids, like for example, in our advanced group, that have a 3-day-a-week program, and then there's a flex program. The flex program means that they can come to all 5 days if they like, or they can mix up the days however they like. Again, getting on a nice routine means that if you're only coming Mondays, let's just say you're only coming Mondays. By the time you get through a 4-week cycle, you're going to get at least 1 of the 4 strokes on that Monday, because that skill set may change on each of those Mondays. And then if you're coming Mondays and Wednesdays, you're going to hit both strokes twice. If you're coming Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, now you're hitting all 4 strokes 4 times within those 4 weeks. Then you come to Friday, it's a bonus. You get that extra day to really hone in on some of those skills. And again, this isn't necessarily what all the groups and what are doing. It's just an example that we do try to change things up each day, so that if you are coming on a Monday, Wednesday, and a Friday, it's not going to be freestyle, 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 and then you're never going to get the chance to do the backstroke, butterfly, and all that kind of stuff. Swim meets competitions, participation in meets is not required. However, it's a big part of what we are as a swim team. There's nothing better to teach some of the major aspects of becoming great than competing. And we teach competition as something that the kids are competing against their own times, their own abilities, and pushing themselves to help each other around them get better. Through teamwork, sportsmanship, achievement, individual and team achievements, failure, trying to learn from them. But not every time is going to be a perfect race. Hard work is paying off. It's kind of a connection between what they're doing in practice and going to a swim meet and saying, yeah, I'm getting better. I'm getting stronger. I did better that time than I did the time before. And then, so, a lot more. I can't even go through all the different aspects of what being a swim meet can help teach. But what to enter, your coach is going to provide you, or you can request it, but generally they're going to give you an outline of what meets to enter, what events to enter at those meets, especially for the first part of the season. And then as we start getting to bigger and bigger meets, you'll see there's a lot of choices, and you're going to be able to make those choices based on what's best for your swimmer, but also the coach will have a lot of say. Coaches are gonna have the last say in what a kid swims. So although many events, you'll see there's a choice for you to go in and choose which events you want to do, the coach is going to look at it and say, hey, a 6-year-old, probably not a good idea to do 500 freestyle just yet. So let me take you out of that and put you into something a little bit shorter. So things like that, but the coaches do have the best interest of the kids to make sure that they're being challenged. They love to challenge kids, but at the same time, not overdo it to where they're going to fail really badly. What to do at a meet? Again, some of this we'll talk a little bit more as we get closer to a swim meet. So I'm not going to go into all the details, but generally speaking, our swim meets are way different than a summer league swim meet. Summer league swim meet, the parents are right there. They're putting the kids in the right spot. There's a nice little staging area. That staging area puts them in the right events. For our events, a lot of times the kids are just showing up behind the blocks and they go and swim, and then they go back to the team area and wait for have the coach. They talk to the coaches and have that interaction there. And a lot of times the swimmer doesn't get a chance to see a parent until the meet is completely done. So we'll talk about that when it gets a little bit closer. Some of the events that we host here at Central Park, we won't have a lot of spectator seating. We'll allow spectators in, but it's going to be very limited, and it'll probably be mostly geared towards making sure the parents of 8 and unders can come in and watch their kids swim for the first time and whatnot. But this facility is pretty limited in what we can do, and so if you really want to see your kids, make sure you sign up to volunteer. We have an exceptional live stream that we put out that has all the times on it, has places on it as the kids finish. And it's a very interactive. You better see what's going on throughout the course of the swim meet. And also the nice thing there is you can always go back and watch it. So even if you're live there volunteering, our staff does a great job of after the swim meet is done, usually a day or two, they'll go back and archive it on our YouTube channel. You can go back, and he does a nice job of indexing it so you can find the event, find your swimmer, and your swimmer can watch it, or your swimmer can go in and watch it and see how they did, and all that fun stuff. So it's kind of a great way to do that. Being a positive parent, a great example of kids, encourage and congratulate all swimmers, not just your own. And most of you guys we all start to become that, right? We want our team to do well, and it's exciting not just to see your own swimmer do great, but also giving congratulations to those kids, and whether they won or they got last in the heat, to recognize the effort that they put in there. Certainly there's going to be some frustrating situations. Kids going to miss an event, they're going to get disqualified, they're going to swim the wrong stroke. There are going to be times, but try not to make that a frustrating situation. Try to make it a learning opportunity for the kids to learn how to next time be better and learn from it. Officials, referees, decisions, things like that. It's the coach's job to defend a swimmer. So if there's ever an issue that comes up, the coach is probably going to be the first one over there talking to the official to make sure there's clear information given, and that there's a clear reason for the disqualification or whatever might have happened. But again, remember what success looks like: making a maximum effort, continue to learn and improve, and refuse to let mistakes or the fear of them stop them from continuing to get better. just I kind of give this just as kind of some ideas. It's the ride home can sometimes be difficult for a kid, especially if they've had a rough swim practice or a rough swim meet, or they failed in something. Biggest thing is to keep it positive and make sure that the kids understand that, first of all, you love and care for them and want them to know that they're taken care of there, but also that their performance does not value who they are. That their value comes from what they contribute to you and your family, and love that you share with them there. All right. Again, kind of harping on the same sort of things here, but just make sure that you're helping the swimming process and the practice process. Monitor child's participation so you know how they're developing, but don't interfere with or second guess the coach unless they're abusive or unethical. Report anything that you see, or any rumors or any bullying or anything like that that could happen. We're very good about controlling that as coaches, but sometimes it does happen, and so please don't be afraid to report it to us, whether it's directly to your coach or to a safe sport coordinator. Todd Mercer is our safe sport coordinator, or to myself, and we'll take the needed actions to make sure that whatever's happening is cleaned up. Certainly, let your coach know if your child's sick or injured and needs to miss practice. Again, it's nice to know where everybody is and what practices are coming to, and maybe why they're not going to be at practice, if they're doing other sports, things like that. It's good to kind of set that up in the beginning of season too. If you know for a fact, you're doing another sport, and for the month of October, you're going to be missing every Thursday or whatever for practice. It's good for the coach to know that they'll kind of be able to keep track of that a little bit. Make sure the kids are eating properly and getting enough sleep. As they go up into the higher and higher levels, this becomes even more important. But as you know, you got a kid that is active and doing multiple sports and activities, plus they're at school all day. They're going to need some good nutrition. So make sure they're eating well, staying away from the junk food stuff too much. But they have snacks after school. They have something to eat and drink after practice, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So move on. So things to be prepared as a new swim parent. Kids' performances are unpredictable. One week you're looking at your kid like the next Michael Phelps. They're getting college scholarship offers from all these colleges across the country, and the next week they show up and it's not so good. So be prepared for that, and just understand that's part of the growing process. It does not define them. Whether they're up or down, it doesn't define them what their long-term success is going to be. They're going to fail. In regards to that outcome, make sure that they know that you care about them and all. Real quickly about practice facilities. We're fortunate enough to have Central Park Aquatic Center here, or Occoquan Swim Academy, as our primary and our operations of the program. Obviously, we use this to pass out our startup gear. We also have the Riptide Swim Shop that we operate to sell the goggles and things like that any of your kids need. But it's our nice central location for providing all the services that we do. The rest of the facilities we rent, and we just use them for our practice time. So Chin Recreation Center, Dale City, the Sharon Balcom Recreation Center down there, Prince William County Schools Aquatic Center, Colgan High School. Those are our 3 sites in Prince William East. And in Manassas Central here is the Occoquan Swim Academy, or Central Park Aquatic Center, and then the Freedom Aquatic Center as well, and then the Warrenton Aquatic and Recreation Center there. Each one has specific processes to get in, and one of the things that you'll get from your coach later on will be if there's a specific process. Here at Manassas Central, there's not a whole lot of process there. It's just showing up. Prince William East, I have not heard from Chin and Dale City. Sometimes they do a check-in process, but they have not done that for a couple of years. The Colgan High School, Prince William County Aquatic Center, very simple. Just walk in, let them know you're part of Occoquan Swimming. Same thing at Freedom Center, just walk in. There's actually a side entrance that I think we're going to be using again this year. So you even bypass the front stairs or front entrance, you just go straight to the pool deck. And at Warrenton is the one, they will get a key fob, and they'll swipe it in every time they come in. So watch for that in the first week here as we start practices up there. Uh, so one of the things I would encourage you to do, especially if this is your first time being on a USA swimming team, is answer these questions for yourself. And it wouldn't even hurt to send this even to your um, coaches, your swimmer's coach, to let them know. And one of the first things is, why do you think swimming is a good sport for your child? What would you like them to accomplish by being part of swimming? How many practices do you plan to attend per week? What swim meets will you be available for? And what's interesting is when you start things like this is your perspective starts to change. Right now, you have a different perspective of where you're going to be in 10 years or 5 years or 3 years or whatever with your swimmer. It's always fun to look back and find out, why did I get my kid into swimming? What happened there? What was that all about? So use that for what it is. Team processes, just a few things here. Communications, our newsletters generally come from the team every Friday. Generally have some information that'll go out. The only reason that there wouldn't be one on Friday is because I was at a swim meet and didn't quite get everything else all done. So that'll usually come on Saturday if it's delayed. Email blasts if there's changes, if there's alerts for weather, pool closures, things like that. Just regular emails will be sent out. And then coach emails, again, each coach is kind of different with how they communicate. Some are very active and send emails out constantly. Others you may hear from once a month or so about what's going on. Administrative updates, things from the administrative team, and making sure that if there's anything that's going on within accounts or billing or stuff like that, you'll hear from them. Team Unify site is kind of our central location, and many of you probably have played with it a little bit if you've been a part of many of the Prince William Swim League teams. It's where you have your account. It's where you're going to sign up for events. There's an app that you can use on your phone that's nicely connected to it. So connected to the same information, and you can track that, and you can have that in your hand as you're at a swim meet or anywhere else away from a computer. We have policies on the web. Make sure you become familiar with those: code of conduct, athlete protection, anti-bullying, minor protection, abuse prevention, concussion policies, other policies, winter closings, things like that. Just keeping up with what all that's about. Again, ongoing weekly newsletters and whatnot. How to contact us. Email is always going to be the first form unless you have our phone numbers and we've given them out. You're welcome to text or call. Just realize that a lot of us also have other things going on and we may not be able to pick up the phone right then and there. So sometimes it's good to send a text message, say, hey, can you give me a call? I've got a question about such and such. Kind of helps us be able to follow up with some good information. Especially since not all of our coaches have an office either, so that not all of them have access to some of the answers. If you call them, they may have to call you back anyway. So administrative person lead is Hannah, and she will answer questions about your account. And if you ever have any billing questions or need to set up changes on that, or you're switching groups and you're going to be billed differently, if you want to change your credit card, things like that, she can help you with that. Most of that you can probably do on your own, but she can also help guide you through some of that stuff. And again, just respect the timing of your messages to the staff. Again, Team Unify, just an account information and adjust your swimmer. You can set up your payments, see what's being invoiced. One of the things that I would suggest getting into a routine of is because once you start signing up for some swim meets, some of our swim meets have entry fees, and those will be billed. So knowing what the billing is scheduled to be, generally will start to come out about after the 25th of the month, that last week before the end of the month. You can start to see what will be billed and processed on the 1st. You can always make one-time payments, or your account is set up as you signed up for the program for things to be paid on the 1st of the month, or auto processed on the 1st of the month, whatever is invoiced at that time. And then events, you can commit and choose those by those entry deadlines there. A couple of things about the contracts. The competitive membership as a contract will be either 9 months or 11 months. There is an option for new members to cancel. The deadline is September 25th. So after these first couple of weeks of practice, if you feel like it's not a good fit, if you feel like it's not a good connection with the coach or whatever it might be, schedule just isn't working out, you have an option to opt out by paying 1/9 of the contract that you signed up for. So There is still an out, but we certainly aren't encouraging it by any means. We want and we will take care of every swimmer that we have in the program right now. Tuition installments, just realize that these are not monthly tuition rates. There's a lot that goes into tuition. It's not just for that month, but it is actually the whole contract that pays for the pool rent, the coach salaries, some of the events that we do, the administration background that we have, and all the different processes that go into making sure that we can provide the facilities and opportunities to practice. So what you signed up for now is saying that you're going to be part of the program, and on our side, our plan is to provide that program based on how many swimmers we have in the program right now. Entry fees. Some of the JO and senior select programs include local competitions, and realize that some of those will be charged. Other groups do not include entry fees, and they'll be billed following the entry. Since many of the first meets we host, I've got a lot of flexibility with meets that we host and billing and all that kind of stuff. But once we go to meets that other teams host, I've got to send a check that takes care of the entry fees for your swimmer up to 2 to 3 weeks before that event. And I can't get that money back. So if your swimmer is sick, if they're injured, if COVID comes up or whatever, and you come back to me and say, hey, my swimmer's not going to be there, can I not pay for this entry fees? I can't do anything about it, unfortunately. We've already paid that. It's called an entry fee because that's what it costs to enter the event. So just realize the meets that we host, a lot of flexibility, and I'll work with you on those. But the meets that we go to, I can't do a whole lot with those once you've committed to going to that meet. Again, we talked about Team Unify there on deck. Volunteering. There's going to be opportunities to do this, especially at the swim competitions that we host, but also meets that we go to as timers, officials, marshals, hospitality, helping with concession stands, things like that. Also, your coach may be doing some activities within your groups, so they may be asking for some help with organizing some of that, a breakfast or something like that that could come up throughout the course of the season and whatnot. There's a couple of, we talked about this on Tuesday, but a couple of places that we're always looking for people to become a little bit more involved, and they do require a little bit of training. That's a stroke and turn official or a computer operator. We have 2 different types of computers. One is a laptop type setup, and the other is a timing system that's pretty basic. Very easy to learn, and lots of good training and lots of good people to learn from all those things. Like I talked about on Tuesday, there's some incentives to that. If you're young, ambitious, and have some energy and have some time, getting into that officiating at a young age and at a young age of your swimmer can really set you up for later on being able to support your swimmer in some ways a little easier, but also really becoming involved and being able to travel in the national competitions and stuff and be an official and get some of the benefits they have there as well. So, all right, I feel like I've missed a whole bunch of things here. Now that I'm thinking about it, but for now, that's all I got. So first of all, thank you. We're grateful for every single person on the program, and look forward to helping you and your swimmer. Certainly, if you have questions or if there's anything that we can ever help with, don't hesitate to ask us. But for now, if there's any questions, you can go to the question and answer and put something in there. It's anonymous, or it doesn't show up to anybody except for me. But you're welcome to type something in there, and I can answer it for the betterment of the whole group. Or if you prefer, you can send me a note, send me an email, or certainly talk to your coach as things get closer here. So with that, I'll stay on here for a few more minutes. Let me see what we got here. Here's one. So the Smith Mountain Lake trip, we will not be encouraging kids from the advanced group to go. There is a shorter race there, but because many of the kids in that group are relatively newer, we wanted to just focus on going to the swim meet or the swim pool competitions that'll be coming up. So just keep that in mind. But if you have any questions and you have a swimmer that would benefit from something like that, have been swimming for a while, you may talk to your swimmer or your coach about that and see if that's a good place for them. But open water swimming is a whole nother ball game. There's no wall to hang on. There's not a whole lot of um, uh, resting and things like that. So anyway, usually going to be for the very advanced swimmers there that have been swimming for a while, and then maybe have had experience swimming a 500 freestyle or 1,000 freestyle earlier. Most all the meets have entry fees. The question is, do all meets have entry fees or just some? Some meets don't. So we actually offer, like I said, for some of our entry level programs, we include some of those entry fees for a lot of the meets. For some of the higher level programs, we include the entry fees as part of the tuition. So yeah, generally speaking, a lot of them will, but there are a few that are free to get into. For the flex group, if the kids go to all the practices, will they be repeating things? Yes, they likely will, but it'll be different. So again, repetition is really a big part of what we do in helping to teach the kids how to do things well. And so that repetition, it's going to become easier and easier and easier for them to do things. So yes, coming to all those practices are going to have some repeats, but each practice is generally going to be different. I will say most of our coaches, I know myself, one of my things is that I never repeat the same thing each day or over another day. I'm always creating something different and new and finding new ways to teach things. So it may be the same stroke, but it may be coming from a different perspective, and that can be helpful with that repeating things. What is the typical entry fee? Ballpark, yep. So generally speaking, there's usually a surcharge, and some of that passes through us and goes directly to the, or some of that passes through the host team and goes directly to the association. And then there's a per event entry. And so, for example, the surcharge may be $5 to get into the meet, and in each event that they sign up for might be another $5 to enter into it. So for a meet that has 4 or 5 events, it's looking $25 to $30, somewhere around there. For most of the entry level meets, some of the bigger meets like the open water swim, for example, the entry fee there for one swim is $70. If you're doing 2 swims, it's $90. If you're doing 3 swims, it's $100. So again, those open water, and it's a little bit different, but there's a lot of variables with that. But in general, most of the local meets that we do are going to be around that $30 range, $25 to $30. All right. Should we have heard from our child's coach at this point? If we have not, and should have, do success? We do. So yes, so some of the coaching assignments have come out a little bit later than what we would like. We had some changes in staff and everything, but we also had some changes in practice times to make sure we accommodate things. So if you have not heard from your child's coach, and you don't hear from them before the tomorrow morning, I would say, don't be afraid to send them a note. In that list that I sent out yesterday, it has the coach's email on there, and it could just be they're waiting for some other aspects to get lined up before they're ready to do that. And again, I know a couple of groups that we just solidified the whole staff for them and got people on board to make sure everything is all set for those. So yeah, but don't be afraid, don't be afraid to ping a coach. Okay. Again, we get so inundated and focused on the kids that sometimes we forget about communicating some things. So don't be afraid to ask and get answers for those things if you haven't gotten them yet. Explain what meets the senior group can or cannot participate in. So in general, there's kind of a full track of the team. So in the fall here, we've got 4 meets that are kind of for everybody to participate in. And the reason we have and they're smaller meets, 3 of them are here at Central Park. 1 of them will be at Freedom Center. And our goal is to offer all the different events in USA Swimming. So the first one is just freestyle. The second one is medley events. So they're going to swim short medley events, and then the third one is medley extreme, where they swim longer medley events, and then the fourth one is an opportunity to swim whatever events. All those events are going to be offered. They can pick and choose which ones they would like to do. Okay, if a swimmer is ready for all of those, our hope is that they'll do them all. If they're not ready for them all, then a coach will rank a recommendation and say, hey, at this meet, I want you to do these events. At this meet, I want you to do these events, and kind of plan it out a little bit more. But for a senior level swimmer, if they've got the skills and they're coming to practice regularly and they're willing to do all those events and can do all of those events, they're certainly welcome to. And then going into championship meets like in December, and then in March, and a little bit in January, there's meets that you have to qualify for. So depending on qualifying times and what times your swimmer has, there'll be a different track for going into the different competitions. So again, overall perspective is the fall is keeping everybody together and doing a lot of the events, as much as possible, getting that initial experience. Then in December, we have more championship style meets where they have to qualify, and maybe we have different tracks for kids to go on depending on what their times are. And then come in January and February, again, there's different tracks, and you kind of see where your swimmer kind of lines up with all those. For medley, how do Friday, Saturday, Sunday meets work? Do kids miss school on Fridays? So first of all, the medley group will generally never have a swim meet on a Friday. The Friday meets, it's actually kind of two different levels of this. A Friday meet that we have, let's see, the first one that something on Fridays offered, I think, is in November, the Fall Fest. That meet doesn't start till like 5 o'clock in the evening, but it's only distance events too. So it's usually just a one session thing just for the kids that are doing long distance events. And then the rest of the Saturday and Sunday meets are a regular, 2 or 3 hour session meets, two or three session. But on a 3-day meet, there's going to be different events on each one of those 3 days. So kind of, you'll kind of see what that looks like as you go through, and the kids pick and choose which one they go to. There's a couple of meets that we go to in December that are actually, they start on Thursday evening. So they would miss school. Thursday evening, they could probably make it there without missing school, unless they're traveling. One of the meets is in West Virginia. So they would generally not have to miss school for that Thursday if they were swimming that day. But the Friday is generally going to be a prelims finals meet. So they've got prelims, they swim in the morning, then the top swimmers come back and swim at night. Again, probably getting a little bit deeper than you need right now, but in general, a medley swimmer is not going to miss a Friday for school. And then the Saturday, Sunday, usually the medley swimmers, especially 8 and unders, we just try to keep it to 1 day for the swim meet that they'll be attending, whether it's Saturday or Sunday in a pretty short session, about 3 hours or so. Who do you contact for the volunteer positions with required training? I'm actually I'll send out probably in the newsletter tomorrow the guidelines of how to sign up to become an official, and our officials contact, who is amazing and has been in the business for a long time with helping officials become officials, and can kind of walk you through all the different steps there. So when you see something come out tomorrow about that, you'll see an email link there that can answer any questions, and then also be able to see the processes and steps to go through there. Yes, so USA Swimming registration. So it's a little complicated this year. So in the past, I would register everybody. I would register all the coaches, I would register all the swimmers, and I'd even go through and help out with registering some of the officials in there. Now USA Swimming has decided that they want each individual to register themselves. And so it's a little more complicated, and there's an extra step that you will need to do as a parent. You register your account, just like with Team Unify, you kind of put your own information in there first, and then you add a swimmer into there. And if they're a returning swimmer, there's a whole nother thing, but if they're a new swimmer, you're basically putting all their details in there. An ID gets created from that, and that follows them for the rest of their swimming career, so that they're connected to their swimming results no matter where they go and what they're doing. For 8 and unders, 25-yard events, although they're official swims, they aren't tracked by USA Swimming. So they'll stay with Team Unify, and you'll be able to see them in there. But USA Swimming doesn't track 25-yard races. And it's not a bad thing. It's just they just decided a long time ago that they weren't going to put those into the system that they're doing. So with that, those aren't necessarily an official race. So my suggestion, especially if this is your first year, is to sign up not for the premium membership, but start off with the flex membership. And what that does is it's first of all, it's $30 to start with, and it'll kind of give you a starting point to determine whether you want to do a whole lot of meets this year or just a couple and kind of get your feet wet a little bit. Once you get over 2 events, you can upgrade to the premium for no extra charge other than the difference between the two things. So again, I'll kind of explain it as we get closer, but new members, I'll probably have that ready to go next week. And that way we're all registered before the first competition. And then continuing members will wait until about the middle of October to get them in. There's been a lot of complications within the system that they just implemented, so I don't want to overwhelm the system or have to troubleshoot with a whole bunch of people trying to get into the system. So stand by on that. But I hope that answered your question. If not, I can you'll hopefully get more information about that next week as well. Can you swap days around the medley program to work around your kids with other sports and schedules? So first of all, that's kind of one of the benefits of the flex program, right? Is that you can mix up and come to any of those practices and throughout the course of the year, move back and forth into different groups. If there is space, absolutely. Problem is we allocate certain amount of space for a certain amount of swimmers. And so in general, especially the first few weeks of the practice or the season, we don't allow any switching. You're kind of stuck in the days that you signed up for. But once the season gets going and kind of the schedule or the number of swimmers coming each day kind of level out a little bit, there's generally going to be some flexibility there. So that'll be something you want to talk to the coach about. We want to be as flexible as possible, but we also don't want to overwhelm a coach, number one, or overwhelm the number of swimmers in a lane that have paid for that specific day. So we're going to try to be as flexible as possible, but just be patient with it just in case. We can't guarantee that we have the space on those opposite days. Yeah, so the JO programs, including the JO prep, include these first 4 meets that we're going to be attending. The freestyle fartlek, the medley mayhem, the medley extreme, and the fall festival. Those 4 meets are included in all the JO programs and senior select. And then the rest of them, as we go further down the road, entry fees will be billed depending on what you enter there. How many days senior and medley can practice? So medley is based on what you signed up for. There's some of the sites have 2-day-a-week programs, and that's all they offer. Some of the sites we have a 4-day program. So it depends on what's offered there and what you sign up for. Senior in general is going to have 4 practices per week. I know there's one location that'll offer a 5th day because one of the days is a little bit shorter. A couple of days are a little shorter than what we planned, but the senior group is supposed to be 4 practices of 90 minutes each, whereas the medley group is 2 practices or 4 practices of an hour each. Qualifying times, in general, yes, we'll be able to have those qualifying times out. A lot of times we don't know them specifically. For example, Potomac Valley Swimming is very slow in getting their qualifying times out. Their championship meets aren't until March, but a lot of times we're waiting until about November or December to find out what those specific times are, and sometimes even later. So as soon as we know those, we'll put you in the right direction to see what those qualifying times are for specific meets that are coming up. Volunteering, is volunteering required? No, we are not. We don't require volunteering, and especially you know what we have found is that first of all, we have a lot of very giving parents and people that are willing to give and spend time on the pool deck and helping things and all that. But we also recognize that if your wife is working or at work, you've got your 2-year-old with you, plus you're watching your 10-year-old swim, it's going to be very difficult for you to volunteer and do something with a 2-year-old in tow. So we don't require it. If there's opportunities, we certainly encourage it and hope that everybody will give a little bit so that nobody's overwhelmed. But we certainly understand the intricacies, especially with parents of young swimmers or young kids trying to manage all that as well. Yes, if you swam for another program last year, is a question. If they swam for NCAP last year, are they able to get synced with the Precise USA Swimming ID? Yes and no. The IDs are actually changing for everybody. So when you go in to renew as a athlete, or you're renewing your athlete, you'll find that the ID is going to be completely different, but it will connect to you or your swimmer from their past results. And in fact, Team Unify should do the same thing. It should import your results. So if you go into your Team Unify account or on deck, you should see your swimmers' times from previous years and their history, because they're synced with USA Swimming and with Team Unify, all the databases there to get all those times in there. So it should carry with them for the rest of their life. The other question is, are Aquan Swimming and Amberjacks similar? And do they compete against one another? So Amberjacks is a different swim team in the area, mostly geared down in the Woodbridge area. They're similar in the sense that they're a USA Swimming team. They're a little bit smaller than what we are, but in a sense, they're probably have some of the same objectives to teach swimming and all that kind of stuff. We generally don't see them at a whole lot of our meets because they're in Virginia Swimming Association. We're in Potomac Valley Swimming, but we usually see them at some of the bigger competitions when we travel to Stafford in December. We may see them at that type of meet. So we see them around a little bit, but otherwise not on the regular because most of our teams are from the DC metro area as opposed to Virginia side of things. All right, with that, see any other questions? Thank you guys for sticking around. I did not anticipate this being almost an hour and a half, but I'm glad that you guys all stuck around, and I hope that you got all your questions answered. Again, if not, certainly don't be afraid to shoot an email to myself or any of the coaching staff. But otherwise, appreciate your time and look forward to serving your swimmer and yourself and your families and having you part of our swim family here. So have a great rest of your evening, and we look forward to seeing everybody officially starting back up next week.